Green Lantern Corps number 6, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Fernando Pasarin. We left off last issue with Guy Gardner getting together his team, going out to get some guns, because guns are the only thing that can overcome willpower, and he's going to rescue John Stewart, who's being tortured. As issue picks up, they're just flying to the planet, making some plans on like, okay, we'll land here so that way people won't find us and blah, blah, blah. There's some banter between the old guard and the new guard in terms of like, oh, come on, wake up, guys. And it's like, oh, we're always awake for danger or whatever. And as they land the ship and jump out, they got all their guns and guys are screaming, lock and load, everybody. We cut over to John and his little group of 2 other lanterns who are being tortured. And they raise up this platform into the center of this weird... It's the Senate room from the Star Wars movies, but instead of a bunch of senators, it's all of the people of the planet hooked up like Matrix style to be batteries, if that makes sense. And as they're torturing and raising them up, one of the lanterns finally gives, and he's like, enough, I'll tell you everything you want to know. And the keeper's like, all right, cool, sounds great. So John looks around and he's like, wait a minute, who are the people on the walls? And he's like, oh, those are the people of this planet. They're giving their energy in order to keep the planet alive. And then he looks at the people on the immediate platform here, and he's like, well, who are these people that aren't hooked in? And he's like, oh, these are my fathers and my forefathers before them. And he's like, why aren't they hooked in? And he's like, well, in order to serve the people have to serve you. And he's like, dude, you're literally harvesting your people's life force in order to gain, like, immortality and power. And he's like, yeah, I am. What are you going to do about it? So obviously this dude is super evil, even within a race of bad guys. So as John's chewing him out a little bit more, the Keeper leader just backhands him and talks to the Lantern who is going to give up, named Kurt. And Kurt's like, all right, John, I'm sorry. I've just had enough. I'm done here. And John's like, no, there's always a way to believe. You can get past this. And he's like, no, I'm not as strong for you. Sorry. And he starts giving up the answer to the key code to get into Oa. And John somehow just breaks free of the restraints, and he's like, sorry, Kurt, can't let you do that. And he snaps Kurt's neck. So that's the thing. It's a full-page spread at that. The ring flies off because, of course, the Lantern's dead now, and the Keeper leader's like, okay, you maybe bought yourself a few minutes, but I'm going to torture you even harder now. And so at that point, John starts, like, powering up Super Saiyan style, and he's like, all right, I'm out. And he uses the energy to grab the other guy, Vandor, and they bust out of the whole building. And Vandor's like, dude, your ring was on empty. How did you do that? And he's like, I funneled in the electricity to like a pilot light for the residual power left in the ring. But we basically got this far as they crash land like right outside the building. But at least they get to pick the place where they die, and they die on their feet, not dangling upside down. But at that moment, of course, with them out in the open, that's where Guy Gardner and everyone else comes up, and they start unloading fire, and it just goes, and it goes, and it goes. They put some like protective suits on John and Vandor so that they won't get hurt in the middle of this. And John tells them, like, hey, you got to go save their people because they are also being enslaved. Like, they're not all bad. It's just kind of like this central group of them that are bad. So go save the people as well. And we just get... I can't even tell what's going on half these pages, if I'm being honest, because it's just a whole bunch of green from the Keepers with their weapons and from the Lanterns because they're Lanterns. It's just green and black on every page. So basically what they come to the conclusion is that the Keepers are fighting until the last man. Like, they're not going to stop no matter what. So they call in the heavy reinforcements, which are the 2 yellow lanterns that we saw last issue. And the one lantern who's flying the interceptor is just like, all right, here we go. And the lanterns are like, oh, good, we get to go eat now? It's like, not exactly. We're going to go ahead and just drop you down and incinerate your entire like cell. And then all of your fear energy will explode into one giant fear bomb, which will hopefully take out their willpower. And it's like, oh, all right, please no. And they're like, it's too bad. So, just some light war crimes and killing prisoners. But regardless, They drop the bomb over top this fight. Apparently, there's an antidote for the fear bomb, which everyone is injected with shortly before they explode. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing tequila. And so this fear bomb incapacitates like everybody, all the keepers, and they're all just like, "Oh, please don't hurt us, don't shoot us." Oh, John. So their willpower's broken. They're all on their knees begging for mercy. And it's a full day later, 24 hours, and the main guy and his fathers and his forefathers are basically set in the field in front of the lanterns, and they're like, "All right, why aren't we going to see the Guardians? Why aren't we placing one of your science cells?" And be like, "Oh, we already talked to the Guardians, and they don't want to put you in the science cells. They've thought of an appropriate punishment for you, specifically you and your fathers and forefathers, not the people, just you. And the punishment is," and they throw down some shovels, and they say that you are going to be digging graves for all of the victims of everyone you've killed. And then we see all of those fish people who died back in like issue 1 or 2, and they're all just on this planet, and it's like, you're going to be digging for the rest of your lives. And that's where we leave off, is that they're doing that. That's their penance. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this as an ending. Like, it's a fine enough story on its own, but like, the fact that the thing that overcame a stronger willpower is just guns, like, I'm not sure what the deeper moral there is, but I'm sure it's not that great of one. So, fine, whatever in that regard. The fight scene was just confusing at best, especially because, like, John specifically points out, like, you have to go save the people who are powering this thing. And then at no point does anyone go and do that. They all just keep staying in the same central fight until they drop the fear bomb, and then like the fear bomb manages to spread to that building as well, so it didn't even matter. I don't know. It seemed a little bit too simple of an ending, I guess. That's what I'm saying. I don't need something to be like super complex and like, oh, how did we ever figure that out? But it's just like, okay, what was the plan? We went in and we shot things. Great. Cool. Thanks. The biggest thing in there was John killing a man with his own hands, and I hope that comes forward in the future issues. I think looking at the cover of the next issue in this trade, it does, like, immediately, so I'm very interested in seeing that. But in terms of if this is the end of the arc for the Keepers, just kind of a little bit of a letdown for me overall. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a 6. Has its problems. The art is fine, save for a little bit of messiness in the battle scenes, but I think that's intentional. I think it's meant to feel like an all-out just slaughter war, like nobody can tell what's going on sort of feeling. Like the Saving Private Ryan beach scene sort of thing, like that level of just chaoticness. So yeah, no, 6 for this. Not the best ending for it, but I guess if that's where they want to go with it, I'm looking forward to see where they go next.